Good evening, everybody. Today we will be dealing with the topic of arterial stenosis from surgical viewpoint. This arterial stenosis can be caused by atherosclerosis. However, it can be embolism, it can be trauma, which may be responsible for it. The symptoms of arterial stenosis are always related to the organ supplied by that particular artery. So, for example, if it is an artery supplying brain, it will cause TI. In severe cases, it can cause ischemic stroke. If it is myocardium, it will produce angina, and in severe cases, myocardial infarction. If it is intestinal artery, it will produce abdominal pain, and it will also produce intestinal infarction. It can be renal artery stenosis, and we know it will produce severe hypertension. It can also produce renal infarction. So depending on the artery, the symptomatology will be different. Here, from surgical viewpoint, we are more interested in lower limb arterial stenosis. One thing is common to all: the severity of the symptoms is always directly proportional to the severity of the occlusion. So more the occlusion, more severe will be the disease. Yet another factor which is of great significance is collateral circulation, what you call it as alternate circulation. So better the alternate circulation, better the collateral circulation, less severe the disease will be. Now let us come to our topic of lower limb arterial stenosis. The most important clinical feature of lower limb arterial stenosis is intermittent claudication. Now, as the name suggests, intermittent claudication means it is present intermittently. One. Number two, what is claudication? It is defined as cramp-like muscle pain produced because of muscle ischemia. So, ischemia we know is reduced blood supply. So, in short, whenever there will be supply and demand disparity. Now, when the supply is normal and when demand is also normal, then it is physiology. At one particular instance, what happens is the supply will start becoming less. So now it becomes a disparity, a situation of disparity. Now, whenever the patient is having intermittent claudication, the history will be very much typical. The patient will say that he doesn't have pain on taking first step. Now, this will differentiate it from osteoarthritis. The patient will always have intermittent claudication on walking a particular distance, and that distance is called as claudication distance. So, more severe the disease, less will be the claudication distance. So, you can say claudication distance is inversely proportional to the severity of the disease. So, more severe the disease, less will be the claudication distance. Claudication distance is the distance from the starting point to the point of development of ischemic muscle pain, cramp-like muscle pain. Number two is this intermittent claudication pain will be better on standing at rest. So the patient starts walking. Initially, he doesn't have pain. He walks a particular distance and then he starts getting ischemic muscle pain. The patient will immediately stand there and the patient will start feeling better, because what has happened is the demand which had gone up will, when the patient stops, the demand will start coming down, and the moment it matches the level of supply, the patient's symptoms will disappear. Now, this will differentiate it from lumbar intervertebral disc prolapse pain. That pain will not be better immediately on standing. That pain will take much longer time to get relieved. That is about intermittent claudication. So, this intermittent claudication can develop in calf, thigh or buttock. René Lerick was a person 100 years ago. He was a vascular surgeon. He describes one particular syndrome, we call it as Lerick syndrome, which comprises of sexual weakness associated with pain in the buttock during exercise and all this is because of vascular stenosis, lower limb arterial stenosis. After intermittent claudication, the second clinical feature is rest pain. When the patient's disease becomes more severe, when the disease progresses, the patient can develop this rest pain. Typically, this rest pain will be aggravated at night time. It will be aggravated when the patient lies down or when the patient tries to elevate the foot. There is a difference between severe muscle cramps of unknown origin occurring usually at the night. There is a difference between rest pain caused by muscle ischemia and these muscle. The third clinical feature of arterial stenosis is coldness, numbness and paresthesia of the limb, followed by fourth clinical feature in the form of color changes. Fifth thing is ulceration, and all these five things together will be called as pre-gangrene. By definition, gangrene is a focal death of tissue superadded with putrefaction. So, intermittent claudication, number 2, rest pain, number 3, coldness, number 4, color changes, and number 5, ulceration. These 5 things, unless and until they are added up with a putrefaction or infection, you cannot technically call it as gangrene. So these 5 things together plus infection will be termed as gangrene, starting of gangrene. So there will be a change in the temperature of the affected limb. The most important function, one of the most important function of the blood is to maintain the body temperature. So when the blood flow to that particular limb will be decreased, naturally that particular limb will appear colder to touch as compared to the other limb or as compared to the other body. Sensation and movement in the affected area will also be hampered. Arterial pulsations initially will become weak, and in extreme cases they will be absent altogether. Usually we look for arterial pulses in the carotid artery, abdominal aorta, radial artery, femoral artery, popliteal artery, dorsalis pedis and posterior tibialis artery. Mostly we compare it with the pulse in the other limb, provided the other limb is normal. Then you can appreciate minute differences also between the pulses. Arterial bruise, in skilled hands, of course, we can appreciate arterial bruit. This is about the clinical features of arterial stenosis. How do we proceed with investigations? When we are talking of investigations of arterial stenosis, general workup is needed. General workup includes complete blood count, hemoglobin, blood sugar level, renal function test, lipid profile, plasma fibrinogen, serum proteins, ESR. ESR is needed when you want to rule out conditions like polycythemia or thrombocytopenia. Other investigations include electrocardiogram, 2D echo, Doppler ultrasound for the blood flow detection. Then we can go for plethysmography, treadmill test, and ultimately arteriography. So arteriography is an investigation where we inject a dye in that particular artery which we suspect has undergone occlusion, and then we look for occlusion. Digital subtraction angiography, that is called as DSA, is one more technique, but it is not available except for very few institutes. How do we manage arterial stenosis? The first and foremost is adjustment of lifestyle. So the patient has to change whatever is harming. So somebody who is obese, he has to seriously think of reducing some weight. Somebody who is a smoker, should stop smoking immediately. Most of them are concerned about claudication pain because it comes with walking. So we have to explain them that it is not walking which is causing them harm, and they can definitely walk. Once we tell them so, most of them, they are content with whatever amount, whatever distance they can walk, they are happy. Taking regular exercise, proper diet, maintaining the lipid profile within normal range, and drugs. These are all most important things in the treatment management part. The fit should be taken care of. The hill may be raised by 1 centimeter, thereby reducing the work of calf muscle, thereby increasing the claudication distance of the patient, giving him or her symptomatic relief. We can definitely advise analgesics for pain part. Aspirin in low dose is very good. It can be prescribed. It has got anti-adhesive effects on platelets, and therefore in a dose of 75 to 150 milligram per day, it works nice in preventing clot formation. If conservative management doesn't help, then we can definitely go for operative management in the form of stenting. So this is all about lower limb arterial stenosis and its management. If you are having any doubts, please let me know. Thank you. Good night.